I would say our approach to non-monogamy, we like to think of ourselves as being in that interesting gray area within the intersecting Venn diagram of perhaps folks really enmeshed in the swinger scene might view us as a little bit too poly-adjacent, whereas those within the polyamorous, really deep into that, might view us as a bit too casual, a bit too swinger-like. And then likewise, vanilla folks probably think we're super kinky, whereas those in the kink crowd probably view us as painfully vanilla.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to episode 337. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a lovely interview with Megan and Brett. They've been together about 18 years, and over the last several years have slowly opened up their relationship.
Yeah, this is an amazing conversation about how sort of non-monogamy sat in the background of their partnership for quite a while, and then they sort of both brought it to the forefront. I mean, it's not that it was like a mystery and not part of it, but then it sort of came to the forefront in the last few years, and they've been really calculated in how they've opened it up, and they're really honest and vulnerable with us about all of the ways that that's gone amazing and some of the challenges that they've come up with against. This is a challenging part of the sentence, really, is what I'm trying to say.
I guess so. Thank you so much, Megan and Brett, for everything that you shared. And we're really excited to share this story with everyone. For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with them now. And for anyone else, we do have a couple of announcements.
The first announcement is how to get that premium subscription that Emma was just raving about. You can find that on our homepage at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can scroll all the way down to the bottom past the t-shirts. You're going to want to stop there and get yourself a t-shirt, but then you keep going down and you hit the premium subscription where you can join for as little as $4 a month, which helps you skip all of these announcements up front, although they are amazing.
You still get the important dates in the outro, though.
You do, if there are important dates. We don't have any important dates today.
We do not.
But we have an important virtual community to tell everybody about.
We do. While you're on the website, go to the community tab and read about the virtual community. It is full of about 300 amazing people.
It's not quite full. There's room for you.
There's definitely room for you.
It's nearly full.
There's always room. There's always room. I shouldn't use the term full. It's not full. However, there are a lot of amazing people in this community, and we would absolutely love to have you check it out and join us as well. We do monthly Q&A calls, monthly men's group calls, and women's group calls, and it's only $5 a month to join. Again, all of the information is on the community tab on our website.
And the last thing we encourage you to do, well, it's the second to last thing. We'll tell you the last thing after the second to last thing, is to check out the resources tab, and you can learn about Emma and I's favorite way to get tested for STIs. It's the service that her and I have been using for years. It is called stdcheck.com. When you use the links on our resources page, you save $10, which brings the cost of a 10-panel test down to only $129, which is a hella good deal.
Yes.
It's fast. It is simple.
Yes. Discreet.
It's all of the things. It is like truly, it is the service we use. We wouldn't tell you about it otherwise. And thank you to all of you out there who have been using these links and saving your $10 for years and years and years. We are super grateful for all of the support of our show and also for the support of the greater non-monogamy and sex positive community by being an informed sexual health advocate.
Yes.
If we could get badges made, we would.
Yes.
That would be a huge badge. Informed sexual health advocate. It would be like Flava Flav's clock necklace.
Yes. Oh boy, now you have me thinking about that. Anyway, also a final reminder, if you would like to come on the podcast or if you have any feedback for us or questions, we would love to hear from you. Go to the Contact Us page and send us a voicemail or an email and we'll get back to you.
And
that's it.
That is it. And now we're going to jump into this amazing conversation with Megan and Brett, and we will see you all on the other side.
Let's go. Welcome to the podcast, Megan and Brett. We are very excited to talk today. We only know a very little bit about your story, and we can't wait to dive in and hear all the things. So
Coming in blind.
Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here. Excited.
Glad to be on.
Long time, first time.
There we go. Perfect. Well, for anybody who doesn't know the 3 things we know about you, do you mind introducing yourselves for us, for the listeners, and for everybody who wants to get to know you 2 better?
I don't know what the 3 things you know about us are, besides...
we can tell you like Zelda based on all of the artwork behind you that nobody can see. But
yeah, right.
That and we know your names.
And that you opened your relationship a couple years ago.
There we go.
That's all we know.
I'm Megan. I'm about to be 40 in April. I have a career background in broadcasting, but I work in retail now. And my mind just went blank, and I don't even know if I answered your questions.
The question was introduce yourself, so you got it.
I like music, I like cats, I like Zelda. Okay.
Perfect. How about you, Brett?
Yeah, so a little bit older by about 2 years, So huge age gap here, so I'll be 42 this year. Wound up accidentally stumbling into the world of IT professionally. Not sure how that happened, pure luck, I guess, or misfortune.
No, it's about who you know. I was a connection.
Yes. And a fun story there revolving around Steely Dan. Let's see. I'm a musician, play guitar, bass, flute. Trying to think
You're
of...
athletic these days.
Oh, yeah.
He's been hitting the gym, y'all. I didn't have a hot husband when he was a hot husband. But I mean, cut that out. That was rude. That was so rude. You were always hot, I promise.
I think we'll leave it in for levity's sake. We get it. We get it. He's getting swole for us for the podcast.
He really, it's for all you people. Just imagine.
I think it's the expression of the oncoming midlife crisis. Going, all right, I don't have money for a red sports car, and we're already non-monogamous, so it's sort of like, well, I guess I'll just do the whole athletic thing.
We'll get the Planet Fitness membership. It's way cheaper than a Ferrari.
Indeed.
It is.
Well, you sorry, I cut you off.
Go for it.
Well, you alluded to the fact that perhaps non-monogamy is part of your world. Would you maybe tell us what that looks like today? And then we're going to go back in time to maybe how you 2 met and when non-monogamy first popped into your world.
Yeah. Would you like me to start? Would you like to?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You go first.
Well, I think when it comes to, I would say our approach to non-monogamy, we like to think of ourselves as being in that interesting gray area within the intersecting Venn diagram of perhaps folks really enmeshed in the swinger scene might view us as a little bit too poly-adjacent, whereas those within the polyamorous, really deep into that, might view us as a bit too casual, a bit too swinger-like. And then likewise, vanilla folks probably think we're super kinky, whereas those in the kink crowd probably view us as painfully vanilla.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd say that, yeah, we have a little bit of the DTF at times.
Yeah,
other times
we do different things. Sometimes we just go to the club and see who we mingle with. Other times we go on your traditional swinger double date. Other times we have friendships that are independent. We have friends that are single. He's been a third for some people. I'm going to be a unicorn for some good friends. But the separate play is more with people that we already know and trust, and we're,
that sort of
with.
dynamic, is really about folks that we've got a relationship with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're not on the apps looking for like somebody random to go on a date with on a Saturday or whatever.
Sure.
It's just what feels natural.
Yeah, exploration, adventure, and just kind of seeing, what feels natural. I love that. I love that.
It's amazing.
I'm curious how you 2 met and how long you've been together.
Well, we like to tell this story, so I'm glad you asked.
Well, we can give the shorter answer for how long we've been together.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah.
So this will be our 18th year.
As a couple. Yeah. We've been married for 13 Is it?
This will be the 13th
This will
year.
be our 13th anniversary in March of
Wonderful.
marriage. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. We met in the year 2005, somewhere in the fall, I think, when I was an assistant manager at a pizza shop, and he was the really cute, sexy delivery driver that had long hair and wore like tight leather pants and like big boots. He was like a rock and roll dude, stoner Jesus vibes.
Perfect.
Yep.
A bad boy. Like you're not a bad boy, but he was in a Rumspringa. He was in an era of like, I'm free, the shackles are off, I'm doing what I want to do. And that's when I met him. So that's why he was like in his adorable rebel phase.
It was a fun time. I got plenty of tips for, skin tight pleather pants. It was
The pizza boy gets the tips when,
Working for the tips. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So I've always had a bit of a shameless side to me.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I would say that as we were working, it was sort of this, maybe 8-10 months of just sort of tension, but nothing really overt until, probably, what would that have been? Summer of 2006 when we started actually hanging out.
We were casually dating in 2006 and really interested in each other, but he was about to go away on a trip for a month. So we decided to just let it be whatever for that month and see how he felt when he came back. And he came back and it was like, yeah, we really missed each other. Let's just hop right back in. We're a thing now.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then we moved in together and 5 years living together. And then eventually it was, I suppose we should get married.
Well, yeah, I got let go from the job I was in, which was also the end of my radio career. That's a whole thing to unpack. But it was kind of like, we've been together for 5 years. I'm about to lose my health insurance in 30 days. We're getting married, right? I mean, like, why aren't we even already married? We were both like, yeah, why aren't we already? Like, we should have just done it by now. So we got married within a month. And of course, everybody pretty much thought it was a shotgun wedding for your kind of like classic reason. And I've been gestating this baby for 13 years now. It's not coming.
Yep. I feel that.
A different reason for the shotgun wedding.
That's right.
Yeah.
Insurance.
This is really modern problems we have, though. That is we're not the only ones who have done that.
No,
without a doubt. A doubt. And so where along this journey did non-monogamy come into your sort of your worldview? It sounds like neither of you really had a view of it or experience with it before you two met.
That's not quite true. In 2003, a relationship I was in came to an end, and I got a little involved with a girlfriend of mine and her husband. She got married very young at like 17 years old to this 24-year-old guy. Nice guy, but he had issues. But they were also swingers, and they kind of snagged me in. I wasn't I would say I was more interested in just experiencing girl on girl play, and I went along with the fact that he was there because it was like, I would rather it just be me and her, but I guess a threesome is pretty hot too, so I'll let's go for it. That only happened one time. And then I started dating a guy shortly thereafter that he had some casual threesomes and told me about them. And he liked the idea of sex parties or sex clubs. And I thought it was pretty hot. This was within the same year or two of my threesome experience. And it was the early 2000s and the internet wasn't what it is now. And not everybody had a web presence. So in trying to find a sex club, the closest place we could find was like 3 hours away. And we wanted to go, but we just never really got around to it. And we were together for almost 3 years, and that just never came to fruition. And that is something that had come up in our own conversations over the years. He knew that about me. It didn't really ever cross into a realm of that could become a reality or a possibility until the last couple of years, mostly just because it didn't feel necessary or interesting or pressing or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, other times, we'd have some, fun, sexy times in bed and talk about what a threesome would be like and that, that could be hot.
Mm-hmm.
But then also going, well, wait a minute. That's actually another human being and not like just some abstract concept or like a toy. Like, how does that actually work with real people that have real lives? It just seems so large a topic and that I never really took it seriously because it's like, yeah, I don't get how that works. Doesn't seem worth
it's
it.
like, yeah, we're vaguely aware that this is a thing that people do, but like it all seems so overwhelming and risky and messy and not worth it because like there's nothing wrong here. Like neither one of us is yearning to go add more people to our dynamic. So
Yeah.
Certainly had no moral obligation.
Sure. It sounds like it just sort of, it was the thing that you two kind of knew about, sat in the, maybe on the back burner a little bit, but wasn't like pushing its way in like intrusively into your lives.
Yeah.
Then where I think it began was really, if I do a little bit of a rewind, there was a couple of years where I would say our sex was really, really good, but it wasn't really all that frequent. And part of that was due to what we found out later on was like an ovarian cyst that was like the size of a Nerf football.
Yeah, just some medical anomaly that happened. I mean, I had been on hormonal birth control, and that has its own known side effects and issues that can happen, especially after extended use. So I had been on this birth control for years, and that naturally can cause a drop in libido anyway, just because hormones, when they're super regulated, that's just what happens. But in addition to that normal hormonal shift towards like less libido, there was this thing inside me taking up physical space in my abdomen, which makes sex like different, and things that used to feel good I couldn't do anymore or had to be a different angle, or so just a combination of those things.
I was hearing a lot of too deep, bad angle. That started being a lot more frequent.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got removed.
Yeah, we discovered that. Fun times. We discovered that in the fall of 2020. So I had to go to a hospital and have a surgery in the absolute bogs of the pandemic.
Yeah, it doesn't get much worse than that on timing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just to pile on, my beloved store manager quit randomly while I was in my leave for that surgery. So then after I recovered, I came back to like a whole new situation. It was a big year that year. A lot of things happened.
Sounds like it. Yeah, a lot. Yeah. I'm glad you found it and had the surgery, and it sounds like has been much better since then. I'm I guess intuitively saying that, but from what you're saying, what you're talking about, it seems like it's been much better.
Yeah, because after getting that removed and healing, I stopped taking the birth control, and within about a year, the next year, pretty much exactly a year later, Brett went ahead and had a vasectomy. So my hormones were natural and doing natural hormonal things, like making me want to have sex. Because even with one ovary, they did have to remove the one that the cyst was on. It was a goner, but I still have one and it's doing its job. So I have a libido now. And he can't get me pregnant. So naturally some more sex is going to follow. Plus all of a sudden it felt good to have things inside of me again. Like really good.
Yeah. And so then what followed was really several months of probably, packing in within 2 months, probably more sex than we'd had in like the last 5 years, like added up. It was just like, oh, she's the one coming to me wanting it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this is cool.
And and our sex always was good quality. We were having it very infrequently before, but there's enough attraction and everything there that it was always good. So then you just get to have more good sex, like 4 or 5 times more good sex. Yeah, sign me up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so I think, and it was just during this period of just ramped up sexual activity that all of a sudden just the fantasy started being a little bit more free flowing, starting to think of things of, the fantasy of, well, hey, while you're doing this, imagine if there were another me also doing that.
Yeah, like if we were in Star Trek and we could go on the holodeck and I could just like clone you or something, have two of you,
Mm-hmm. And starting to, I think, just lean into that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because it was somewhat of both of us sort of looking at the idea of just like a sex club in general. I think you had mentioned, from way back almost 20 years ago, things around sex clubs, and that put a bug in my brain where I'm like, wait a minute, do we have any near us?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, we've got two. All right.
Yeah.
And so then as I realized Megan had already done her research and said, well, actually, one of them is a little bit meh, might want to stay away from that one. The other
The
one,
culture,
however,
the vibe is...
the other one, however, sounds really good, in terms of what that is. And still the conversation was just kind of, okay, well, that's interesting.
I mean, the goal was more to be in a sexually charged atmosphere. We have no qualms about being seen. Public sex isn't our thing for like something you could get arrested for, or like we want the people who see us to be consenting to seeing us, but we do like to put on a show and see other people putting on shows. And with the idea that any sort of play would not happen at the club, but only if we happen to like make some connections, make some friends, feel safe. That wasn't really the goal, though.
Yeah, and even to rewind it a little in terms of the actual proposition to go to the club, it's kind of fun because, we were hanging out in the bedroom. I think you were giving me a massage. My birthday was coming up in maybe about 6 weeks or something like that. And, you slyly brought up the idea. You said, I had this idea for your birthday. That sex club is having a party on your birthday. And my original thought was I would just take you to dinner somewhere downtown, and then after dinner go, oh, by the way, at which point common sense prevailed, and she went, maybe we should talk about this first. As fun as the idea of just springing it out of nowhere.
What a great premise for a TV show, Candid Camera. Like, surprise, we're going to the sex club.
Right.
Hope you wore your good underwear and not the one with the stain.
Right. None of my underwear has.
It has happened. I will just say we've talked to enough people that does happen.
Oh, no. I don't recommend that approach.
No. I do love this approach, though. I just want to say this is one thing that when people reach out to us and say, hey, we're interested or we're curious or one of us is curious and one of us is struggling, one of the first things we say is like, just go to the environment if you can, right? Mm-hmm. Go to a sex club. Don't worry about playing with other people. Don't even worry about connecting. I always say go with the open mind of talking to people. But, that you don't have to be closed off or necessarily guarded, but just to be in the environment, experience it, have that energy together. Like that's a really wonderful place to start and can often breathe a whole lot of energy and sort of the new sort of excitement into your partnership without ever even touching another person. And so I love that you two sort of took that path and consensually, which is bonus points. So good for that. Good for you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and it made it fun to have some anticipation along with going, wait a minute, this is now this whole new, this world that seems secret to us. That was just, these are the people that go to orgies and sex parties. And it's always just seems so otherworldly almost.
Like, that's not for us. Like, yeah, I guess it exists, but like,
it's like, okay, I've seen Eyes Wide Shut and Sorry to Bother You and whatnot and seen like orgy scenes, but is that what it's really like?
Wait, there was an orgy in Sorry to Bother You?
Yeah. I'll have to have you rewatch it.
All I remember is giant horse cock.
It's in one.
Have you all seen that movie, by the way? Highly recommend.
No, we have not.
But
it sounds like it potentially has an orgy in it, though, so we'll have to check it out.
A very brief one. Just a camera panning through a hallway, but that was one of those movies.
That's true.
Yeah. So I wound up seeing it 6 times in the theater. Huge fan. If you're into surrealist, black comedy, satire, sci-fi, with a dash of horror. highly recommended.
A lot of Venn diagrams
I
just
know,
collided right there. That's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
really interesting. Yeah.
Hits them all. But what I really liked was the anticipation, this whole otherworldliness of orgies or just whatever it could entail. So that's when we started finding different podcasts and going, oh, people out there are sharing their stories, and there's a lot of good content out there. So I found a couple of podcasts. Megan found a few. We had been listening to things independently, talking about what we learned, including like all of the new lingo, all of the new concepts. And that's, I think, before we went to the club, when we decided like, okay, yeah, we don't want to do any play, because we hadn't reached a point yet of saying we actually want to play with other people. It was more, let's be in a sexually charged environment, and see what our comfort level is like there. Because it all sounds great on paper, but sometimes life can be like that, where things sound amazing on paper, and then they just don't work. Cinematically, that would be the movie Freddy Got Fingered, by the way.
I believe
Sounds
you
funny.
two have a lot more cinema knowledge than we do, and I will just blanketly going to put that out there, that
No.
if you go, have you seen that movie? The answer is probably no.
That is the answer with me. I have not seen anything. I think we named 2 out of the 12 movies I've seen in my life just now. No, that's an exaggeration, but not too far off.
I'm a movie geek.
He's the movie geek. I've seen some movies.
Fair enough. I love it.
Well, for anyone listening who's also a movie geek, they will appreciate it.
Right.
So.
Right. So did it, not to spoil it, but did when the rubber met the road, how did it pan out for you two?
Well, first time at the club was really fun. We went out for dinner with a bunch of vanilla friends first in the same neighborhood that the club was in, and we were wearing outfits that were a little sexy, a little bit theme oriented, and they did our friends suspected, and they do now know that we are in the lifestyle. They're vanilla, but they're cool. Actually, one of them is a former swinger, but like they're fine with it. They don't want the details, but they're fine with it.
Yeah.
But so then we all parted ways and we went over to the club, which was just like minutes away. And yeah, it was fun. I mean, we just were taking in the scenery. I mean, neither one of us had really been to a dance club or a nightclub in decades. We like, what do we do here? We BYOB'd. We bead our own bee. And it was a bottle of wine that we didn't even finish that night, I don't think. Or we took 2 bottles and didn't even... Yeah, it was just taking in a lot of the sights. We took the tour, of course. They're very nice. They give you the tour. And we just thought it was a really nice facility, well laid out, clean. And we met people. We talked to people. At one point, I remember walking down the hallway and we chit-chatted with a couple. And they asked us right away if we wanted to go get a room. And we're like, we're not really ready for that tonight. We don't know what we're doing. And they're like, well, neither do we. And we laughed a little bit. But it was like, no, thanks, not tonight.
And it was, I would say, within the first 30 to 60 minutes, one of the rooms they have is an exhibitionism room that's got, big, basically floor to ceiling mirror on the side facing the hallway. Then there's a room right next to it, and so it's just got a huge mirror. So you're just saying,
a window between the rooms.
Yeah.
It's an exhibition room. There's just a curtain on the door. And so, like I said, we have no qualms about being exhibitionists. So we got down in there. We didn't have sex though. We were just 69ing in there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm a short-haired woman. I sometimes get mistaken for male from like the side or behind or whatever. Especially in retail, I've had to learn to respond to sir if it seems to be coming in my vague general direction. But we could hear people chit-chatting outside the door, being like, "Is that two guys in there, or is that two?" I tried to position myself in an angle so that people could see that I have a female body, but
we had fun, but what made it fun is we were just laughing on the inside, inside of the room. There was probably a crowd of maybe anywhere from 6 to 10 people, as they come and go and just stop and watch for a bit and give their color commentary. And so we were just, having a great time.
Did you finish?
Yes, I did.
You did. That's right. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was, ta-da!
Yeah.
And then collected ourselves and went back out, got another drink, walked around, talked about, oh my God, we just did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then we enjoy. They've got a couples lounge where just couples hang out and things happen. So we just took in the scenery, got ourselves worked up, wound up having a round 2 later on, and
on our own in a private room.
Yeah, that time in a private room, but just really feeling amped up. It was just a really good experience, and I think when we were in the parking lot, we were like, okay, let's record our reflections. Let's have our little audio diary of what that was like. So that would be interesting to listen to after all this time.
I know. I have. Well, so it was a blatant ripoff of the format of another swinger podcast that I had been inspired by, but we had only seriously considered starting our own podcast, but not it never came to fruition. But either way, I did still see the value of recording our first initial. I think we're going to really appreciate that we did that. And I've edited some down for brevity and so we can go back and listen.
No, I love that. I love that. So you can, even if it's just for you two, you can go back and remember this and to pull that out. It's it's awesome.
Yeah. I love that. The early days, they're fun to look back on and remember. And the excitement of that first time going to a club or first time having sex in front of other people and just so many firsts. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, kind of from there, I think it's probably pretty common. A lot of sex clubs will have their own internal social media site, so to speak, where it's kind of a hybrid of social media plus a dating type site where you get up your profile and everything else. And so we had a couple reach out to us, and right away we were clicking really well with just a lot of shared interests. And we wound up going, okay, well, they actually live close by. Let's go on a date. I think it was that night or the next night.
It was very short from just having a chat conversation to realizing we're clicking, let's meet them.
Yeah. And all of a sudden having the butterflies of going, wait a minute, we were on an outdoor patio and just going, what are we doing?
Yeah, we got there first, so we're sitting at the table looking at each other like, oh my god.
Yeah, because I think we had decided that we were comfortable with what we had experienced at the club, and I think we were getting more open to the idea of playing with others, which is why we put our profile out there and said, well, let's.
Yeah, we decided to go to the club one time and check it out before going fully and making a profile. So after we had gone and had a great time the first time, we're like, let's make a profile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And,
cool.
So how did the date go?
Yeah.
It went really well. We had drinks, great conversation, continued to build on some shared interests, shared a couple of good life stories, both from their end and our end. They lived pretty close by, and so we went back to their place, and we had already decided that we weren't going to play that night. We weren't ready, but we wanted to.
We agreed that
meet.
We were okay with flirting and light touching, just, if you're really vibing with somebody and you want to snuggle, kind of get close if we're on the couch or whatever, but we weren't going to be making out because that would just, that could be a snowball rolling down the hill that you can't stop.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went back to their house after going out, and we were singing karaoke in their basement. That it was so much fun. Just, a crowd of singing for 3 people. And, I just remember being on the stage, and looking out at you and C sitting next to each other, kind of rubbing arms or whatever, and M watching me sing and getting a boner.
Well, and of course she let us know that she enjoys hairy chests, of which I possess. So I had, a nice, button-up shirt, done down a little bit, and so invited her to pet the rug.
Oh God, you make it sound so attractive.
You know it.
By the way, that's the first time that phrase has ever been used in 330 plus episodes. So well done, Brett. Well done.
Yep. Happy to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
So the night went well, it sounds
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
It went well. It was towards the end.
She really wanted to kiss him. I mean, they were vibing. Me and Em, we were vibing, but not as hard. Like, it was a little bit more of a slow burn for us to connect. We're both a little bit more cerebral. They were just clicking together, and she wanted to kiss him. And I remember the moment when he leaned like across her and to my ear, like, can I kiss her? And I was like, nope. And it wasn't a territorial thing. It was more like, no, we're going to stick to the agreement. We're not compromising on that in the moment. It's safer to just remain with what we agreed on, because there will be other days. This is going well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, to have the wisdom that you two had when we started would have been amazing. That we always say and again, everybody kind of does it their own way, but one of the things that we've sort of landed for us is it's better to leave a situation wanting more than to leave a situation wishing you hadn't done things.
Absolutely. I think we probably said something pretty much to that effect when we had agreed not to play that first night. Yeah. But it wasn't too long after that we scheduled a play date with them for soft swap only. They were full swap at the time, but they were only in the lifestyle for like maybe 4 months longer than we were. And they did just kind of randomly dive in and like, whoops, we full swapped, woo! But we were slower than that. But our first, play session, they came over to our house and we had a real nice time. And they sent us a thank you card in the mail. Handwritten in the U.S. Postal Service. Like, I mean, I kind of melted. I melted. I love that, a gesture like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And like, it's such a simple gesture that means so much, especially because that's not something people do as much anymore.
No, and it's so adorable to just look at a card that says like, thanks for the hot sex and for dinner or whatever. It's just like, tee.
Yep. I love that. Also, a real power move if you do it in postcard format so the mailman can read it.
Next level. I'm going to tell him that.
Another form of exhibitionism.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Thanks for fucking us last night. Dinner was delicious. Can't wait to see you two next week. So I'm curious sort of where sort of the journey takes you to, maybe a little bit high level, like from there, how it sort of evolved. And I know kink has been, as we said earlier, we knew a few things about you. We knew Zelda. We knew you've been in this a little bit, and kink has been a part of a part of your world, and want to maybe make sure we weave that in as well.
Yeah. Well, I would say that when it comes to kink in our world, like we're novices. I wouldn't really identify as a kinkster myself. I think there are a lot of things I really appreciate and think that the swinger community could learn from the kink community. Yeah. And I'm really interested in exploring kink spaces, just for the learning opportunity and to broaden my horizons and to explore that, because I think that the power dynamics and the psychology of it is really, really interesting. But I haven't found any particular thing that tingles my kink brain in a way that I would like call myself a kinkster who's like in a kink lifestyle or whatever.
Sure.
We've tried some things. I would say that kink plays a role. We have started experimenting more with power play, power exchange, a little bit of bondage, but not really BDSM per se.
Yeah,
not with pain or impact or anything.
Yeah, I think we've been learning a bit, I think, from becoming friends with folks that are more within the kink spaces, but I think exploring some of the dynamics that we have, and so I think that's very much a slow burn journey where sometimes the mood will strike and it's, hey, what do you think about trying this? Going, all right, and then going, well, that was a lot of fun. That was a side of me I don't get to let out, or vice versa.
There's been some times where we don't necessarily say that beforehand, but you do something or say something, or I do something or say something where it's like, oh, that's what we're doing now. So you're in charge. All right, let's go along with this. That could be fun.
Spontaneously into a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the desire for who wants to be dominant and who wants to be submissive happens to align in that moment. So we go with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, in terms of where we're at now, is kind of this interesting place of still doing. We still have some. I would say I'm trying to think of a word that's not terrible. Roster isn't the right word. That's like for sports. But we have our friend group,
our inner circle
within the swinger space. That we play with on occasion. It's been a couple of months since we've hit up the club, just the holiday season, and it's just been a little bit too much schedule wise to kind of get into that space.
We're starting to head back into it though.
But then also, sort of in parallel with this, we've gotten keyed into kind of this community that's a bit more on the poly side of things, where it's having more of a larger community. A lot of it centering around like a kind of a cool homestead that's sort of, wouldn't quite call it a hippie commune, because
it's an aspiring hippie commune. It wants to be a hippie commune when it grows up.
Lot of fun, and so we've gone camping there before. I got to be a dragon for the couple. Just took my own little journey there about a week and a half ago.
Recently, we each went on our own separate rendezvous journeys on the same weekend. He went east and I went west, and he got to be a dragon for a couple, and I just met with a play partner.
Very cool.
Fun, cool.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, incorporating some of that separate experiences within things too.
Yeah, I just sort of love the way you two are just sort of up for the adventure, right? Like a little of this, a little of that. Let's see what the mood strikes. Hey, let's go try this experience, see how we like it. Like, I think that's just such a free and fun way to move through the world as individuals, but also sounds like a lot of together, or mostly together with a little bit of individual like sprinkled in there. And I think that's a really amazing balance to find.
Yeah. We find that we really like making genuine connections with people, even if it's just for a couple hours or one night, feeling that like spark of an interest in another human. And you don't have to go, oh, but I'm married and she's taken and it wouldn't work. Like, no, like we can follow that thread. If you meet someone or a couple of someones at the same time or whatever, like you don't have to feel guilty first and foremost about feeling any sort of connection or attraction to somebody. And then if things work out and it's within our wheelhouse of just what we would require, then it's like, yeah, explore that connection.
Yeah, I love it.
I was going to say, it's nice to lean into the compersion, especially with us, having done our first sort of solo outings to different places, and just going, well, how was it for you? And, wanting the play-by-play. Well, here's what I got to do. And of course, just, finding joy in your partner's joy, and in knowing, that Megan had a great time.
The only ounce of jealousy I felt for you on your trip is just that like it was so fun for all of you, and like I wish I could have been a fly on the wall. I felt so happy for everyone in that situation, but I was like, but I want to watch.
Yep. The FOMO is real.
It was FOMO,
yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, just timeline wise, for people listening, it sounds like what was the timeline from went to the sex club, tried it out for the first time, to sort of where you are today?
It was August of 2022 that we went to the club for the first time.
Okay.
And within the first 2 months, I think we had our first full swap. Within the first month or so, I guess.
Probably 2-3 months.
2-3 months, yeah.
It's about 18 months or so. I was just kind of curious, like the general timeline. And it sounds like you're moving at a pace that really just feels good to the both of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we were very successful early on and lucky in the fact it's one part just having good intuition, but also getting incredibly lucky to meet good, kind, well-meaning, sexy people that we vibe with, and we got lucky to meet a couple of couples like that right off the bat. And the whole time, we held no hubris about like, oh, we're doing this better than somebody else. We knew that the shoe would drop at some point. Like nothing can be perfect forever. Something's going to be difficult eventually. And that came this last like Thanksgiving and Christmas season. It came and we absolutely did not foresee it happening the way it did, but it was a little bit comforting to know that like we had already acknowledged something will happen. We'll
navigate it when it comes.
We'll navigate it. We'll be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you open to talking like a little bit about what happened or what came up that sort of was the hurdle that you two cleared?
For me, I would think of it probably more in the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I would describe it in the abstract is that somehow you can have a dynamic where everyone involved is a good person. No one is trying to hurt anybody. And yet somehow a situation happens where everyone winds up getting hurt, including people who may not have even been involved in an initial situation, but you find yourselves in the middle of something and all of a sudden it's like, okay, everyone is hurting and this is bad and I feel bad for everyone involved, including us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it just became interesting to realize that there's really no how-to book in terms of all of the different ways things can get messy, all of the ways where if you try to avoid a bad situation, sometimes that can make a bad situation even worse by trying not to get involved in something that actually didn't involve you, but going, well, it still involves people all around that we care about. And there's avoiding drama, but there's also being a good friend. And those are some really difficult, it feels like you're walking on a tightrope and it's like, well, I think we probably made some wrong calls. Just kind of everyone did.
Well, and certainly everyone did.
Messy.
And I feel like we tried so hard to do the right thing. And in that situation, any number of things could have been the right thing or the wrong thing. And it just so happened that the thing we chose wasn't the way that worked out. But I wouldn't say it was the wrong thing, like just life is weird. And I will say, though, what I can share that I would love anybody and everybody listening to take away, that the snowball at the top of the hill of everything was people got way too intoxicated beyond the point of being able to give reliable consent and bad decisions were made. So maybe keep people's intoxication level, including your own, in mind when deciding whether to play or not with somebody for the first time or any time.
Yeah. Sage advice. And we definitely won't push you any further on it. I think the web of connections that happens when you go from 2 people to 4 people, like that's exponential. You add 2 more,
and 6 people and 8 people.
And it's just like the chances that something is going to happen that might not feel good to someone and that then everyone's trying to figure out what to do. It's real. It's very real.
Yeah.
And again, nobody probably, I would be hard pressed to bet anybody came into that situation maliciously or nefariously.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Everyone's trying to do their best with the tools that they have, and nobody knows exactly what to do. And unfortunately, people get hurt, and it's hard, and it sucks.
And in hindsight, I realize, it's always 2020 that everybody was kind of acting with their trauma triggers engaged. Like people were probably, including myself and everybody, were going by the playbook that their trauma informed pain body or whatever, like tells them how to respond. And it's like you have these pseudo close relationships with people that you don't really know that well. And, you don't know people's communication style. And
well, especially when I would say when it comes to, conflict or deep things to resolve, so you can have good and strong connections across a lot of avenues, but all of a sudden it's like the shit just hit the fan. And even within just, us as a couple, it took us a while to learn one another's communication styles. When we first got together, I, let Megan know I came from a really passive aggressive environment, and that's not how I want to be. So please let me know if I'm being passive aggressive, because that's not who I want to be. And that's something that you've made it good on, in terms of letting me know.
And I think my temper has calmed down. I don't fly off the handle nearly as much as I used to. And yeah.
But it takes time. And so, especially when all of a sudden it's, you've known people for maybe a year or so, and a big situation came up where everyone is engaging their toolkit. Because you don't know other people's toolkits and they don't know yours, and you might just be on completely different pages of how to approach a situation. And yeah, it can just get...
And it's painful when you know that it's nobody's fault, but the hurt is so deep, and it's just...
Yeah, it's painful.
You kind of have to walk away sometimes, yeah.
Well, I remembered kind of feeling like the pendulum effect, where I was like, this hurts really bad. This sucks. Okay, back to monogamy. But, that was just that brief 10th of a second type thing of going, well, no, not really, but...
It's that protector. It's that protection coming up of, yes.
Yeah. See, I knew other people would be icky and weird and scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the norms and stuff we're told. I think too, you point something out that's really valuable, or maybe we don't even talk about as much as we should, which is that when you're hanging in the space between these, let's call them deep, committed polyamorous relationships, where maybe you are developing some type of understanding of somebody for months at a time or longer, and the more traditional swinging path where it's a lot more surface level, when you're in this space where we're getting deep enough that we might start hitting triggers and wounds, but we also don't know people well enough to be able to navigate those. And so you're in this, it's sort of this, you don't know how deep the water is. You're kind of swimming in it, hoping that if it gets crazy, that everybody's bringing the right tools, quote unquote, the right tools, but you don't know. And you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. And then it can get really dicey. And so I think that's a really valuable point to sort of bring up. And I'm grateful that you two did. I'm sorry you had to go through it, but thank you for our benefit. We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thank you for touching on that. And, one of the questions I was going to ask you both, you touched on this briefly, but I'll ask it anyway so you can expand, is that kind of through this journey, how have you seen each other grow?
I've seen Brett grow in communicating in the moment, being able to ask what someone wants or needs, say what he wants or needs, share ideas, just become more confident in himself as a lover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been great seeing, I think, this really sexy side of you, that's always been there. It's been between us, but really seeing, just how much I enjoy, in all of our group chats, seeing you get really saucy.
I like to get really saucy.
I think in a lot of ways too, we've never been bad at communicating with one another, but what I've really appreciated in this journey is, getting into it, we knew would require a lot of communication and making sure that we talk to each other, and check in. And I feel like just our communication, just in general too, not even just around lifestyle and and things of that nature, but just, hey, things to do around the house. Even that has, I think, changed and improved.
I think it's really it changed and improved, especially like a kind of unseen, unacknowledged side effect of just being more aware of power dynamics in our relationship and the idea of parentification, just in the day-to-day life, because I do have ADHD, and so navigating, whose responsibility it is to make sure who does what and all that, kind of the tools of communication and not knowing when it's helpful and not helpful to externalize your issues. I don't know. I feel like it kind of one kind of informs the other, of the idea of being able to communicate something vulnerably, not be judged for it, get a reality check. I like that. I think it's working.
Yeah. Well, and it's nice seeing the glow that you've got with having, I would say, a nice group of folks always, coming up and wanting to have sex with you and
It's nice. Well, it feels good to be wanted. Yes.
Yeah, just going, see, it's not just me that thinks you're beautiful.
That's really one of the things I love the most, is just seeing people desire you. It's kind of hot. I don't know. I like it. Because, like, fun. Yeah, ladies, get you some. He's coming home with me at the end of the night, but he's all yours for now.
You can pet his rug for a little while. And
come to pet the rug, stay for the dicking of a lifetime. I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that. Your mileage may vary. That I can guarantee.
It'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. I love how humble you are, Brett. I appreciate that.
And I have to comment too, as you two have been talking, like, the listeners can't see the interactions and the just like the love and the care there is between the two of you, and how endearing and sweet and kind that is. And I just want to comment on that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think too, just you touched on I think the communication, we'll call it the communication upgrade that is sort of mandatory in navigating this. And I think we all figure that out at our own paces, and it looks very different, but we've heard this from others, and we've experienced it in our own lives, which is, if we can talk about these things, we can talk about these other things they're a lot less scary to talk about some of the bigger things that people are often worried about in relationships, when you're like, well, we've also talked about hooking up with other people and STIs with other people and safety and and so, like, talking about the bills becomes a little less scary. Talking about the in-laws becomes a little less scary. Like, everything sort of comes down a notch when your skills go sort of up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. No, well put. I was thinking about that earlier, where it's like, yeah, if I'm talking about, sharing a man's cock with his wife, that's kind of like, yeah, I guess we can talk about other stuff too. Probably not that big a deal.
Yeah. It's just right on the list.
Getting the basement cleaned out.
Well, we're not there yet. We're still on threesomes and orgies. We're not ready to basement clean.
You two probably know one of our favorite questions. Do you have a fun blooper or story that you would like to share that would show that things don't always go as planned? It can be sex related or not.
Like a lifestyle, like a blooper. Gosh, okay, I know you want like a non-monogamy blue. Do you have one in mind?
It doesn't have to be non-monogamy. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be non-monogamy.
Okay, I just love sharing this blooper because it shows how far we've come. And I mentioned earlier about how my temper has died down, and I think I treat you a lot better these days than you ever. Like, wow, 20s Megan was not okay. And thank you for staying. But when earlier in our relationship, our first year really living together, we were broke as a joke. And I would make a lot of chicken noodle soup from scratch. I would buy a big bag of cheap chicken thighs or whatever and make chicken noodle soup. You boil the chicken in the water, and that's where you get chicken broth from. The chicken flavor goes into the water, right? So I say, hey, honey, I forgot something at the store. This chicken is boiling. After 20 minutes, please remove the chicken from the water. So I leave and I come back and the chicken is in a dish and there's no broth anywhere. And he had just poured it through a colander, like drained it into the sink and just assumed I was just boiling chicken because boiled chicken is delicious. And he got rid of all of the broth for our soup. And I was so mad because in my poor broke ass mind, purchasing chicken broth was pointless. You make, he was already a few beers in. Hey, instructions were unclear, to be fair. I guess you just needed more information. You got that computer, that logic brain. Yeah, the logic brain. Like, I guess I just didn't explain it well enough or what. But like, I screamed. I yelled at him. I made him cry. I chewed his ass out about like, he learned how chicken broth is made, like how soup exists that day. And he walked his crying butt to the store and bought me like 2 cartons of chicken broth. And I'm pretty sure I apologized eventually.
I think so.
Yeah. But again, I thank you for staying with me. That's just one blooper.
Yeah.
It does show how far,
yeah.
like how you, I mean,
yeah.
Was your reaction okay? No. And
No.
you can grow and change and recognize that and change over time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you have one in mind?
Oh, geez. Well, I'm thinking of, I guess this would also be early in the relationship. This was more.
I think I know what you're.
Yeah. Now, for the record, I quit drinking probably about late July-ish, thereabouts. But I would say certainly in my 20s, I was definitely a bit of a stoner, very big drinker, big party scene.
We both were at the time.
But I think I had made ramen the night before, something like that. And it was the next day, we were doing dishes, and I see the ramen, kind of dehydrated or looking dehydrated in the pan, and we're doing dishes. And I thought it would be great to just take the pot and just turn it over and just watch the effects of the stuck ramen just hanging on the top of the pot. And meanwhile, Megan's just next to me, and she just sees me take the pot and just hold it up high and turn it over, and just everything
like no fucks given. Out. I thought, is he just like, watch me, bitch? Like,
right. I was thinking it would be like a fun magic trick. Look, it's sticking to the top of the pan.
No. Gravity did its job that day.
It's not a DQ blizzard. You can't just, yeah.
Yeah, so she was just looking at me like I was insane. Dominance? Just like, what is he doing? Just, what is wrong with you?
I love that those are the stories you remember too from early on in your relationship, and you're like, well, and that's a story. Like that happened.
We live and learn. Learn.
Yep.
Yeah.
You still stuck around.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything? I mean, go ahead.
Okay, no. I do have a really funny lifestyle story. I really do. This is a really fun blooper. Okay.
Go for it.
So last January, not the one that just we came out of, we went on a ski trip with our friends that were our first full swap, the people we met and vibed with, still love them to this day. We went on a ski trip with them for a couple nights. We get to the lodge, we get in our room, we had connecting rooms, and we were all in our room at the time. And one of the first things I do is I go and I turn on all the lights and I press all the things and I look at all the things. That's what you do when you go into a hotel room. I turned on the light in between the beds, and it instantly started flickering and like buzzing. I'm like, well, that's not good. So I called the front desk immediately and was like, hey, our lamp is shorting out. They said they'll send somebody up to change it out shortly. So we're unpacking, we're talking, we just got there, what you do in the first hour of a hotel room. And eventually we do get a knock on the door, and we are all still in our room. I go to the door, I open it. There's a man standing there with a uniform, and he's carrying a whole ass lamp, like not a bulb, not a wire, not a toolkit, like a whole new lamp under his arm. And he's just like, I heard you guys are having trouble with your lamp. And like realizing like what kind of a vacation this is for us. And there's a repair guy at the door with a lamp under his arm.
Yeah.
Our friend he just started losing it. Like, he could not control his laughter. And I had to like shove him into the other adjacent room and be like, don't be weird, don't freak the guy out. But it was just like, you almost hear the lights dim and the music.
Yeah.
You know, like,
The start of
you're
every
having
good
trouble
porn
with your
movie.
lamp.
Yeah. Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay.
And did you get a new lamp? Did it
We
work
did,
better?
he changed out the lamp. It took up all of about 30 seconds and we had reliable light.
Good.
All was well.
I thought it was, when you first started telling that story, I was like, they're going to forget that they called the front desk and start to get busy and then they're going to show up. That's where my brain went.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yep.
No.
Not that we've ever had similar stories happen, but those are for a different day and a different show.
Yeah.
I want to hear that.
Yeah.
So you should make an episode, a bonus episode of like blooper stories or funny stuff.
Our blooper. It's been a while since we've done one of those. We should bring that back.
Yeah.
We used to do a holiday blooper episode. Maybe we need to bring it back this year.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else that either of you wanted to share and get out there?
Well, I guess
you wrote a few notes down as we were talking. I did not.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that was interesting when we went, I guess just mentioning that we've got kind of these friends with their burgeoning kind of, poly hippie style commune. When we went out there, one of the things as we were heading out there is we decided that this would be a place to, we would be doing new things here. That would be really our first experience of maybe doing a little bit of solo play potentially. We didn't, we knew that this would be a different vibe than the sex clubs. And so I think one of the things for me that I opened myself up to was to like start talking with someone and actually like be open to like having a crush. So I don't have a girlfriend. I just have a crush.
They held hands
That's
by the
all
fire.
We held hands, and she shared with me her all-time favorite book series and author, because I asked her,
Because
she said
he asked, like, swoon, a guy's gonna ask you like what's your favorite like comfort novel series? Oh my god.
Yeah, because I worked
Why
as a
didn't her
bookseller
panties
for
come
years.
down immediately?
Yeah, so she shared that with me, and I was like, okay, so now I'm on the 10th book of the series, and her and I just have like a completely vanilla chat that's just still like moving at this glacial pace, but it's just like, I've got just such like this childish, or not childish, but like childhood style crush.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
It's
like,
so sweet. It's so cute. And I've stayed out of it. We're on good terms, me and her, of course, like we're totally fine. But, part of me, I'm not going to do this, but part of me wishes I could just get in her DMs like, girl, if you're looking, if you just need somebody to tell you, yes, go for it, please go for it. Like, because I think she's new to the E&M space. Like she came with a friend that was already in the like swinger, poly, swally world. She was divorced less than a year ago and was theoretically open to making connections, but a bit too shy and unsure of what everything was. So
yeah. Well, and the heads up I got from her friend was just move slow, and so I've been making sure to just move very slow and just match the energy, and that's, and then just kind of swoon and go, okay, well, I can't text every day and go, hey, just thinking about you. Like, no, don't push away. But
it's really, really cute to see like him have a crush on somebody, because presumably once upon a time before we got together, you had a crush on me and you were thinking about like, what books does she like to read? We actually bonded early over the fact that we had the same like favorite, like beloved kind of young adult fantasy series as well. So it was just kind of cute to see that from the other side.
Right. Yeah. Those hanging in the limerence of it and the unknown and sort of just you kind of described it earlier, Megan, as like following the thread. And I think that's what can be really fun about that is it doesn't have to go anywhere. It doesn't have a mission. It doesn't have a timeline, but it just kind of gets to be what it is. And that's super fun to just hang in, because we don't get to do that very often as adults who are married or in partnership. So that's fun.
I was really inspired several months ago by a blog post I read that a lot of people in the E&M space, there's a good portion of people who might be familiar with it, by musician Carsey Blanton. She wrote a blog post called Casual Love.
I love you, no big deal.
I love you, NBD. With just the idea that, like, you can have love or feelings for someone and it doesn't have to immediately mean anything or immediately go anywhere or immediately blow up your world. You're allowed to feel a thing towards someone and let it be what it is. And I think that has really, like, helped me in all of this. It's like, let it be what it is in the moment and don't worry too hard about what it's going to become, especially because I already have my foundation and my rock and my primary human being right here. So it's just, there doesn't have to be a sense of urgency or scarcity about it. That love is not a scarcity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. We will link that in the show notes. It's actually the second time that has come up. The first time was for anybody who's familiar with other podcasters, Libby Sinback came on the show with one of her partners, Tom, about a year ago, and that poem was actually part of their journey as well. That sort of "I love you, no big deal." So I think that's amazing that it came back around. So we'll definitely include it.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing in the way you framed that, and it is so true. Like, yeah.
Wow.
Thank you both for everything.
Sure.
And I want to check in with you, Brett. Was there more? I just want to make sure you said you had notes, and I just want to make sure we got through most things.
Yeah, I think that covers it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you both for everything and just for sharing vulnerably and openly and wanting to come on and share your story too. We love it. It's been so fun to get to know you both, and we're excited for the journey you're on and can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. Thank you. This was really fun.
Awesome. Well, you two have a wonderful evening, and maybe we'll get an update in a year or so and hear how the crushes are going and what's going on in life.
We'll let you know if anything ever came of that one.
Perfect. Well, we look forward to it. And until then, have a fantastic evening.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And we're back. Thank you again, Megan and Brett, for everything that you shared. We loved talking to you today and just really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing.
Yeah. And we look forward to doing it again, hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until then, we encourage all of you to head over to our website, check out all of the resources and stuff we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, but also check out the podcast tab where you can see show notes for all of our guests, including Megan and Brett, which include links to all of the resources we talked about and most of the time photos of our guests, including today.
Yes.
And so we highly recommend you check that out. Get yourself that $10 savings on STD check. Get yourself into the virtual community that is almost full of amazing people. And
a t-shirt too.
And a t-shirt. It's going to be amazing for you out there in the world once you get the full normalizing non-monogamy workup.
Yes. And also, special announcement, this Friday we have an episode.
Oh, we do, don't we?
Yes.
We have a little Ask Us Anything coming out.
Yep. Ask Us Anything's coming out with Finn and Miche answering your listener questions. That'll be coming out this coming Friday. And then next week, we have another interview.
We have an anniversary next week, Emma.
We do.
6 years of podcasting.
We have a podcast anniversary. 6 years.
6 years and an amazing conversation with Daniel.
Yes. So come back and listen next week at the beginning of May. And with that, I think that's it.
That's all.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.